Today we have a big old piece of walnut. This comes to us from my friend Kerry. Brought this down, I don't know, a little while ago. And along with some other pieces, I already turned that big, beautiful maple burl. Now this one was a little bit bigger than you're looking at it, and I'll show you all that. But I'm looking forward to turning this. I'm really hoping the bark will stay on. I've done quite a little bit of trimming here. You'll see that in a second. And how can you beat walnut? You know, how can you beat walnut? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop. Howdy, let's take a closer look at it. This is what the piece looked like before I trimmed it up. You can see it was missing a big piece of bark, and I want to do this as a live edge piece. And you can also see it had a very large crack here, so I took that off. Before I began, the piece was 22 inches corner to corner, and my lathe is 18 inches, so I had to trim it up anyway. And then I noticed that heartwood was way off center, and I still can't turn it because it's still too wide corner to corner, so I took that off. And then I took that off, so that's what we have. And now it's about 15 inches corner to corner, and that's quite doable. So now the piece is about 11 by 11 by about 4 inches thick, and as you can plainly see, the bark is quite thick. So the bark is probably an inch of that, 4 inches. Some places it's even thicker, like right here. This is heavy. The bark looks pretty tight. Most places right here along this edge, I just now noticed that's a fresh cut edge. Might be not as tight as I'd like it to be. I might drop a little glue in there, a little CA glue. See, especially right there. Yeah, I think I probably will do that. It's too hot today anyway to do much turning. I think I'll put a little glue on there and let it set overnight, and we'll get started on this tomorrow. Ooh, it is hot. Later. Well, as you can see, I've knocked the corners off all the way around just to speed up the process, I guess. We're going to be turning at 440 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. Okay, we're fully round. I'm going to start coming down here and working on this corner. I don't mind telling you, I'm scared to death of losing this bark. It's so thick, so heavy. It's like all bark up there. It looks pretty tight everywhere except right here, and I know you can't see that, but right here is where I put some CA in. The rest of it looks tight, but it's so big I feel like it's just going to come off in big chunks, and I sure hope that doesn't happen. I wonder if I can pick the speed up any. Now there's 600. I wonder if this is wet. I think maybe it is. The way it's hitting my shirt feels kind of wet. I don't think Kerry mentioned that, but maybe he did. Whew. Well, it's looking pretty good so far. Now I'm going to move down here to the bottom, flatten it off, and maybe put in probably a tenon. Well, I was just asked yesterday if I would show how I check for moisture content. And my answer was, well, you know, I hardly ever turn wet wood, so I hardly ever check for moisture content, so I'll probably forget to show it on video, and what do you know, today I'm going to check for moisture content. So I hope that gentleman's watching. And he asked what kind of moisture checkers I have. I have this one, which is called a Mannix Moisture Hunter. And with this one, you turn it on, and then you have to choose what kind of wood you have. So I'm going to go over here to hardwood, and I'm going to place that right here. And it says 35%. I don't know if you can read that, but it says 35%. So yeah, it's plenty wet. Now with this kind, a pinless, you have to have a flat surface. If I come up here to where it's round, now it says 6, 7, 8% because it has to cover this area. So it has to be flat. It can't be irregular. And then this one, this is a general. And with this one, you just turn it on. You don't have to set anything. And then poke those pins in there. And I'm going to do it down here. And I told him that I've checked them against each other, and I've done that many times, and I have. But this one says 14%. And I've checked them against each other, and they always read the same thing. Now this one you can use on the side. I kind of hate to because I don't really, well, okay, I will. I don't really need to do much more turning on the side, but I do need to do more. So I can stick this one on an irregular surface. Now there it reads 20%. They almost always read the same, so I'm very surprised that they don't. I've had this one the longest, and I trust it, and I trust this one. But somehow they're just reading differently on this piece. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But I believe 35, and the reason I believe it is because I'm all wet. My shirt's wet, my arms got wet while I was turning. It's wet. So anyway, that's how I do it. And I said I was going to do a tenon, but I'm not. I'm going to do a recess, and that's because I think a recess I'll lose less height, I'll lose less space, and as you can see, the heartwood is not real thick on this. And I want to, when we start turning the inside, I want to turn down into the heartwood, and so I don't want to go up any higher than I have to, and I think a recess is the answer. So I'm going to mark out for a recess. And I'm going to use my small recess, my small chuck jaws, the ones that are on there now. The piece isn't as big as it was. It looks like it's probably about 12 inches across now. So I think that the small chuck jaws will do just fine. And I'm going to use a 1/2 inch bowl gouge to make the recess. I need to raise my tool rest just a little bit so I can use my dovetail tool, put a dovetail on the side here. And that's good. Now I'm going to come back over here to the corner and finish up the side profile. Maybe I'll stick with the 1/2 inch gouge, see how that works. Okay, I think that'll do that. And the bark has stayed with us, so that's a plus. Make sure this bottom's flat. And that's good, and that's good, and that's good, and that's good, and it's all good. Time for sanding. I've already used my Sandoflex at 120 grit to sand the bark. I'm going to show you the 180 grit. It looks exactly the same. I just didn't want to bore you with both of them. So I'll be doing that. And when I'm done with that, I'll switch to my 2-inch disc starting at 100 grit, working up through 400. I'll have the lathe spinning in reverse for that at about 250 RPM. And I'll show you what all that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. And that makes quite a little bit of difference in how it feels, but it doesn't really change how it looks. And that's what that looks like. I'll be doing that for a while and I'll bring you back and we'll put probably sanding sealer on there. See you in a bit. I think you will agree this is pretty striking even before it has any kind of finish on it. Such a huge difference between the heartwood and the sapwood and then the bark. It did sand up real nice. I'm not real sure what the effect of being wet wood is going to have on the finish. I've done it before. I have turned wet wood. I have applied a finish. And it does not usually cause a problem. If it does, the only problem will be it'll raise the grain as the wood dries a little bit. It might raise the grain. So tomorrow I might have to sand it back and put on more finish. I think I've only had to do that like one time. It kind of dries as you turn it, and as you sand it, you know, you build up heat, and that usually takes pretty good care of it. I just came back from the house getting a cup of coffee. I have to comment on my mode of transportation lately. Some people call it walking. I have to call it hobbling, and it's just old age. I do have a bad knee, but it's just old age. And I guess I could moan and groan about it, but it's not going to change anything. And I know that I have it a lot better than a lot of other folks. And I'm just glad to be here to hobble, I guess. So we'll just let it go by the wayside, let it be what it is. Okay, it's going to take a lot of sanding sealer. Oh yeah, this is sanding sealer. I didn't say, did I? Shellac based sanding sealer. And it's going to take a lot of it for the bark here because it's so thick. And I think I have just enough in the bottle to do the trick, and then I'm going to have to fill my bottle tomorrow because today I'm tired of standing here. So I will do what looks like I will do. My regular process of 2 coats of this sanding sealer and then 2 coats of shellac. And in between I use 3M abrasive pads to smooth each coat, a gray one between all coats and then a white one after the final coat. I'll see you tomorrow and we'll turn it around and start working on the inside. Have a great evening. I've turned the piece around and have the chuck jaws expanded into the recess. I'm not real happy with the finish I have. It's okay, not great. It's smooth. It looks good if you don't study it. I might add to it or redo it after I've done the inside. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is right now. We're going to be turning at 700 RPM, 5/8 inch bull gouge, mask and face shield on. Haven't turned any wood yet. Just bark. You know, when you have bark like this, at least me, I'm tempted to leave a lot of it, but that's really thick walls. But it's also really cool bark, so I don't know. Of course, I'm always running up against the tailstock. I knew I wasn't going to get far, and I can go a little further, but I need to be this way to get this. I'll go deeper. The bark turns really easy. Reminds me of turning cork oak and just turning the cork. Turns about the same. So I'll go a little deeper, and then we'll have to get rid of the tailstock. Well, that's about all I can do with the tailstock there, so I shall remove it. That too thick? Hard to tell, huh? I mean, it's thick, no doubt about it. But is it too thick for this piece? I don't know. I don't know. Well, we're going to have to decide here. Speak up. Thinner? Leave it? Which is it? Well, half of you are going one way and half the other. That does not help me. All right, we'll split the difference. I'll take some away. How's that? I think I'm going with that. Just because of the kind of bark it is, you know. Boy, looking at that, you wouldn't think it was walnut, would you? I'm going to shear scrape a little bit. I cleaned it up pretty good. Just starting to hit the heartwood, huh? Up a little high here. Well, we got a good little ways to go. 1.5 inches or so. Well, I sharpened up, and then I went in the house and got some coffee, and then I stood here looking at this while I drank my coffee. And you see the little bit of heartwood down there, but on the outside, it comes up to about here. So I want to thin down these walls to try and reach some of that. I don't like just this little bit of dark wood down on the bottom. It looks kind of funny. I mean, it's okay, that's the way it is, but I'd like to get a little bit more of it. I'm going to come clear back up here and go down and thin them down a little. I'm not going to thin them down a lot. If I can't get there, then I can't get there, but I'm going to try to get there. Still at 700. Now with a freshly sharpened 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask, and face shield on. That's probably about it. Yeah, we're at about 1/2 inch, and that's as far as I want to go. Well, I got a little more heartwood. Oh, I got a decent finish on there. Time for sanding. I have the lathe spinning in reverse at 240 RPM. I'm starting at 100 grit on my 2-inch disc, working up through 400. I'll bring you back in just a bit and we'll put some sanding sealer in there. See you in a bit. Well, this bowl is a perfect example of why you turn it with the bark side up. If we would have turned it the other way, what would happen? Would turn all that heartwood away. It simply wouldn't be there. It would be all white. And that would be a shame. This is sanding sealer I'm applying, shellac based sanding sealer, just as on the outside. And I like what I'm seeing in here more than I like what was on the outside and is still on the outside. The outside, this white part, turned kind of yellowish. And it did that before I put finish on it, or sanding sealer. So I don't know what that's all about. The wood is drier now than it was when I did the outside. That might have something to do with it. I had to take yesterday off, so this has been sitting here on the lathe unsanded, but sitting here drying for the last 36 hours. That bark is pretty all by itself. Kind of has its own grain. Okay. Well, that's the first of 2 coats of sanding sealer. And then 2 coats of shellac. I'll bring you back and we'll take a look at this thing sitting upright and beautiful. Probably, maybe. We'll find out. See you in a bit. Be sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. If you'd share the video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, here it is. 1 walnut live edge bowl in the books. I don't know what to think, but I'm interested to know what you think. It's really different. You just don't see that dramatic of a change in sapwood and heartwood with walnut most of the time. At least I never have. I'm not real satisfied with the finish. I'm probably going to refinish it again. I'm glad I have a recess on there to do that. It's going to make life easier. As far as dryness, I may have said earlier, I'm not sure. I was thinking about this. I said I think the wood dries as you turn it and sand it. What I meant was the surface dries. I don't mean the whole bowl. I didn't mean that. I meant the surface, but I'm not so sure that that's the case with this one anyway. Because remember how white that was? It was white, and this was white, and now it's more yellowish. So I'd kind of like to get it back to that white. I don't know if that's possible or not. So I'll probably check this up again and sand it back and start over and see what happens. Also the bark, you can probably see it's shiny in some places, not so shiny in other places. I'm not sure why that is either. I don't know if it has to do with moisture. I just don't know. I did sign it. You can see it if you tilt it just the right way. If you know of a pen that writes in white that isn't paint, that is ink, like a ultra fine point Sharpie, which is what I use all the time, but in white instead of black, please let me know. I can't find one. I found one in paint, and I tried to use it. It just kind of leaked all over and splattered and just made a mess of whatever I used it on. So I don't want that. Ink would be good. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the piece, great. If you don't like the piece, let me know that too. I'm still deciding. Thank you, Kerry, for bringing this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. I also appreciate you taking some of your time to spend with me today. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your comments. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.